Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Sri Dakshinamurti Sudeshi Kendram Dvaipayanam Sutrakritam Munindram Sri Shankaram Bhashyakritam Yatindram Maddeshi Kanchapi Namami Vidyai. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsarishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyah Sarvopa Plavarahita Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivaham Asmi. Pranams everyone. So this is going to be an open session. If you have any questions, if you have anything to discuss, if you have any feedback, can feel free to switch on your mic and share your views. Anybody wants to start or?
Yeah, can I ask for a repetition of this Panchakosha? A brief, is it in the same order that you have mentioned, or is there be a different order, or is there any logic in giving me the order like Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha? Is there a significance to that order, or we have just learnt it that way?
No. It is there is a significance to that order. The Panchamaya Kosha, as I said, the first Kosha, the Pranamaya, the Annamaya Kosha is the physical Stula Sharira, and then the last Anandamaya Kosha is the Karana Sharira, and in between you have Pranamaya Kosha, Manonmaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha. So the Pranamaya Kosha, Manonmaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha are your Sukshma Shariram. So the Sukshma Shariram is kind of seen across these three dimensions. So the Pranan, the Pancha Pranan.
No, that's what. So you mean to say that each of these layers are connected or related in some way, or is it just because they are, as per the classification of Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, or is there any, some kind of link between each of these koshas?
There is a link between the koshas. We say that, for example, when you are meditating, the Pranamaya Kosha has got a link between the Manonmaya Kosha. So if you are while meditating, one of the things that people will say is to watch your breath.
So, yes, correct.
So when you say watch your breath, it is actually by actually observing your breath, you are slowly controlling your mind, which is the next layer. So unless you first kind of control your breath, you will not be able to control your mind.
True.
So there is a kind of layers, and there is a reason why one after the other.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm back after a while. Actually, a small question. If you can just differentiate for me, and I'm forgetting this, I'm sorry for this. Difference between the Sharir and the Kosh, because we are seeing 5 koshas, but there are 3 shariras, right?
So it is the same 3 shariras are viewed differently as from a kosha standpoint, as a sheath. So it is the say when we are in the when you have a balance sheet, the same balance sheet in the office can be viewed with using different graphs, right? So it's the same numbers underlying, but you view it differently. In the same manner, the same anatma, the single anatma that we are talking about, is actually first divided into 3: Stula, Sukshma and Karana. And there is a purpose behind it, because Sthula Sharira generally has got a smaller life span than the Sukshma and Karana Sharira. And each one has got its own functions, and it's got its own parts. So this Sthula, Sukshma, Karana Sharira can be viewed as sheaths, which means the Sthula Sharira is viewed as one kosha, which is Annamaya kosha. And then the Karana Sharira is viewed as one kosha, which is actually as Anandamaya kosha. And then the Sukshma Shariram itself is actually viewed differently through a different prism, which is to say one is Pranamaya kosha, Manonmaya kosha, and Vijnanamaya kosha. Basically, it is the Pranan is basically the you basically divide the 19 Sukshma Sharira components into those 3 koshas. It's just to say that the mind has got its own sense of independence, and to control the mind you will have to control the breath. And then there is, although there is only one instrument within us, which is your Mano, Buddhi, Chittam, Ahankaram put together is only one instrument. But there is a kind of a subtle division between what is known as mind and what is known as intellect. And that difference is kind of brought out as a sheath. The sheath is not actually a physical sheath. It's not something, it's not seen. It is just from an understanding standpoint. It is divided into those 5 layers. It is not a physical layer as such.
That is clear. That's clear. So it's only the division is only based on the understanding.
Correct.
What I would say is it's a logical. They are all logical sheets.
Correct. Logical differentiation of sheets. So you have this Pranamaya kosha, which is actually basically your Panchapranas.
Panchapranas.
Yeah.
And then Manonmaya kosha is Manas plus Chittam plus Ahankara. And then the Vijnanamaya kosha is basically the Buddhi plus Chittam plus Ahankara.
Can I just connect it to the other side, Guruji? So, I think we have had this discussion in the other class and here as well. Based on this koshas, Vijnanmaya is outside of Anandamaya in a way. In terms of our spiritual journey, what I can correlate and remember, as you were saying, first realization is obviously of the external most component, which is our physical body, the Sthula Sharir, and then the journey takes us through the different layers. But Vijnanmaya is being talked about before the Anandamaya Sharir, the Anandamaya Kosh.
Yes.
So does this mean, and I'm just correlating it, correct my understanding if it is mistaken, we say that the Advait route would be through the knowledge path, which is, I'm just correlating it to the Vijnanamaya Kosh, the discovery of that first, and hence you reach the Anandamaya Kosh through that route, while Bhakti takes you straight to the Anandamaya path. And would that mean that it is a faster route, the Bhakti route versus the Advait route, or I'm misunderstanding something there?
Okay. So the question is...
Yeah, I wanted to again get more clarification on this. So I think Bhakti may not lead you to Ananda. Anandam, I mean, is the knowledge part, the Jnana. So the Anandam state will reach when you get a Jnanam. And to get to Jnanam is only through knowledge and not only just by Bhakti. Bhakti will not take you to Jnanam, is my understanding. Am I right or wrong, sir?
Okay. Before you are right, Sundar. Jay. I mean, you are right in that sense that only jnanam will take us to the final moksha route. But in terms of the koshas that we are talking about, whether it is Vijnanamaya kosha or Anandamaya kosha, is not the jnanam that we are talking about, or neither the Anandamaya kosha that we are talking about is the final, the Mukti Ananda, the Brahmananda. We are not talking about that Ananda. What we are talking about in the Anandamaya kosha here is, if we have to give a sort of the Anandamaya kosha, the bliss that one enjoys in deep sleep. So whenever we go to deep sleep, whenever we come out of a deep sleep or during deep sleep, we are happy. When we are awake, we have all the problems in the life. We have issues with our body, we have issues with our near and dear, we have issues with our health, we have issues with our finances, job, people around us, house, everything. So there is always a constant issue-based issues that are surrounding us. But when we are in deep sleep, we are not even aware whether we are rich, poor, whether we have problems, whether our body is working, whether I've got some health issues, whether the people around me are loving me or not. We don't have any problems in that. We are in a state of bliss. But that bliss is called as Anandamaya kosha. But that bliss is not the final Brahmananda, because this bliss that we have is what has come out of avidya. It has come out of ignorance. It has come out of ignorance about who am I or who am I not. I don't have any view of it, and yet I am happy. So this is an bliss that comes out of ignorance, this Anandamaya kosha. What Shastra says is, the bliss that you enjoy, the person who enjoys that bliss there is also not you. You are actually the person who is enjoying the Satchit Ananda, who is the consciousness, everlasting bliss, who has this understanding that he is Brahman and he is not limited by these boundaries of this body. So the Anandamaya kosha that we are talking about in the Pancha kosha do not refer to the same Satchit Ananda that we talk about in terms of Brahmananda. So we will have to, so what the Shastra says, you will have to negate that Ananda also. Okay, this Ananda that is experienced by me in my deep sleep is also not the kind of, the person who experiences that is also not me. That is how the Shastras say. The knowledge that we have to get is actually the knowledge, rather than I would say the knowledge that we have, the ignorance that we have to remove is that ignorance that we are this body or mind. And if we are able to remove that ignorance, we are able to get, then we have to answer, if I am not the body or mind, who am I? And that's where the Panchakoshas is one of the way to actually negate ourselves. So I am not this body. Okay, am I the prana shakti that goes into my body? Am I the pranan? Is the life principle through the through this, the breath, is that me? No, it is not me, because I can feel my breath. Then if I am not the breath, prana shakti, then am I the mind? The mind that is aware of my breath, the mind that is aware of my sense organs, the mind that is aware of this world, is the mind I? The Shastra says, no, the mind is also not you, because you are aware of the mind. Because I can feel whether my mind is happy, I can know whether my mind is unhappy, I know what my mind goes through. So I am aware of the mind. I am aware of my mind, therefore I am not the mind. Then it says, okay, are you then the intellect? The intellect behind the mind. Are you the one who is the intellect, the knowledge principle within your body? No. You are not the knowledge. The knowledge, Brahman is the knowledge. It's not the intellect that you have in your body, in your Sukshma Sharira, is not you. Brahman is the awareness principle. Brahman is the knowledge principle. So it's a subtle concept. It will take some time as we grow. This introduction to Vedanta is only we are kind of doing only the first layer of this, is this study. Then with the next layer would be the Bhagavad Gita, followed by the Upanishads. But as we actually go into Bhagavad Gita itself, we will have more clarity around what this is about. But again, coming back to this Panchakosha, you are not the intellect, and finally you are not the person in the deep sleep. You are the awareness principle who is being aware across all these things, who is aware of all these 5 sheets. You are the witness principle across those 3 stages of waking, dreaming and deep sleep. There is one entity who is aware, that who is the waker, who is also the dreamer, who is also the person who is in deep sleep. We think that it is the body and mind, but what Shastra says is the waker's world is different, the dreamer's world is different. So the person who is the waker is different from the person who is from the deep sleep, if you can put it that way. So the same person is not the waker and the dreamer. There is one underlying witness principle which is there in both in the waker's world as well as in the dreamer's world as well as in the deep sleep world. And in the deep sleep, I don't get that experience that I am there. I don't get the experience of deep sleep. But when I am awake, when I come out of my deep sleep, I am able to recognize that I was in deep sleep and I had a good sleep. That I, with that common I, is the Brahman or Atman principle. The idea behind the waker, dreamer, I have already said. What we experience, we are not. If I am experiencing this world, I am not this world. If I am able to aware, whatever I am aware of, I am not. I am the awareness. Whatever I am able to experience, I am not. I am the experience itself. I am the subject. So the question is, what would be the Brahmananda like? Will I have a different experience? Will I be able to experience the consciousness? No, we will not be able to experience consciousness at all, because we are consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. When we say the eternal bliss, when I finally get to the end of after getting my jnanam and getting the knowledge that about Brahman, about the Atman itself, so that Satchidananda state or the state of bliss will actually not be felt by me, right?
No, what you will still have the same body, you will have the same mind, you will have the same intellect, everything. The only thing you will be able to do is to disassociate yourself totally from this body and mind.
Yeah, correct. This kind of disassociation that we try to do it in our daily lives also, we try to practice it. What you say is it will be more distinct when you finally get to it, right?
Correct.
Is that what you mean to say?
Yes, you will. The awareness of that I am not this body or mind. So which means I do not have a special likes or dislikes, because the body and mind has its own likes and dislikes. And we try to own up to those likes and dislikes. We say, I like this, I don't like that. And we are not, now in that case, what we are doing is we are associating ourselves to this body and mind. My mind likes this, my mind does not like it. So I say, I don't like it, I don't like it. So the question is, I am not able to disassociate myself with this mind, because the mind and me are so closely linked. And for millions of births, I have been taking myself to be my mind. And now, as a habit, I associate myself with this mind, and I have to disassociate. And to disassociate, Shastra says it's not very easy to dissociate until you are able to see what is in your mind, and to be able to get the reflection of this consciousness, that you are the reflected consciousness, or rather you are actually owning up to this reflected consciousness of the mind. For you to understand that, the mind needs to be clean. The mind shouldn't have any raga dvesha. It shouldn't have any likes or dislikes. Just like I gave an example, right? When a mirror which has got a lot of cracks and dirt and all those things gets broken into pieces, and there is a reflection of the sun in each mirror, each piece of mirror thinks that it is the one which is actually emitting the light, and the mirror thinks that, oh, mine is my light is not that bright, that person's light is bright, or mine is, I am dull, the other person is bright. It doesn't even say my light, it says I am dull, the other person is bright, or I have got edges, the other person's is curved, or I am dirty, the other person is clean. So these, because each of the sun in the mirror thinks that it is the original, it is that the one that is actually emitting the light, that is giving, or it is like the sun, each sun in the mirror owning up to I. Whereas what we are saying is, the reflection is a reflection. The original sun is not disturbed at all, and the mind is like the mirror. And unless I am able to clean my mind, the reflection will not be perfect, and I will not be able to understand that I am the reflection. When we see a reflection of the moon in the water, and when the water actually has got a wave in it, then what happens? The moon also moves, or there is a feeling that the moon also moves, or the moon kind of breaks, disintegrates. It's just like us, we think that we are the moon in the moon in, it's like the moon in the water thinks that I am getting disintegrated. Whereas what Shastra says is, there is no, it is just a reflection. The original moon is there, and own up to the original moon. So this Brahmananda, and right now, as I said, I mean, when we reach the stage, the final stage, it is where I am not limited by the boundaries of the body. I am not limited by what my mind, what this mind says or not. I mean, the likes and dislikes are to the mind. And by the time when what Shastra says is, to get to that stage where you are able to own up to the original I, or the original consciousness, the steps to do is bhakti, karma yoga, upasana yoga, jnana yoga. So Ashishji, I don't know, your question was whether I should be able to go to bhakti. Bhakti is a necessary condition to get this knowledge. We talked about karma yoga and upasana yoga. Karma yoga is not possible without bringing Ishvara into it. Whenever karma yoga is basically two things only. If we have to literally bring it down to 2 points. If karma yoga, if I have to bring it into 2 points, all my actions dedicated as if I am doing it for Ishvara. 2, whatever be the situation I get in, take it as prasada. So again, prasada means, again Ishvara is involved, Bhagavan is involved, Bhakti is involved. So karma yoga has to be with Bhakti. When I talk about Upasana yoga is about meditation on Ishvara. And we talked about 3, Manasa Parayana, Manasa Puja, and Manasa Japa, to actually bring our focus to single pointedness. And then we said about expansion meditation, where we are able to meditate this Jagat as Ishvara. Everything as in, I see the expansion of this space, this expansion of this water, the forest, all those things. And I say, Ishvara, you are around me in various forms. I am able to bring Ishvara into this Jagat. So whomever I am dealing with, I treat them as Ishvara. In Karma Yoga itself, we have to do it, because if I am going to do my duty, and if I say I am going to do it as Ishvara Arpana, then basically I am not doing for the person anymore. I am treating the person as good as Ishvara. Because if I am doing it for somebody else, but I internally, in my mental makeup, I have already decided that I am doing it for Ishvara, then it is as good as this person is Ishvara. That is how I am actually going to view it. So bhakti is an important component.
I read this quote somewhere. I mean, I really liked it. It says, without Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga is impossible. Without Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga is incomplete.
Yeah, I think I've also said this in the class also. But yes, this is a famous quote from Swami Paramarthananda. So,
okay, yeah, correct.
Swami Paramarthananda uses this quote. Yes. And final stage is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is a final stage. It's in the last stage where it is kind of very it's a very simple step where I am going to own up to my final I. But to get to that final stage, it's just like, as I said in one of the classes, if you are hungry and you want to satisfy your hunger, then there are two steps. One is actually to eat, but before eating you will have to cook your food. The cooking process takes a lot of time. The eating will take 5 minutes, your hunger is satisfied. But the cooking may take 3 hours. So the karma and upasana yoga is as good as your cooking time. But the jnana yoga can be easily had. But having said that, why do we still say study Shastras, understand this Vedanta? Why do I need to understand this Vedanta if I am not ready for this knowledge? Two things. One is, first of all, we need to know where we need to go to, the final stage. Where do I need to go to? I have to be clear. So that's why the Shastras give you an introduction of who you are. Even in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, Bhagavan immediately tells Arjuna that he is not the body and mind. He starts with that you are the Atma. First you have to get to the, what is your goal? You have to let the person know. The second reason is Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga is for Chitta Shuddhi. But Chitta Shuddhi, Karma Yoga can give, while also the Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, whatever we do, especially the Shravanam, it will improve your Chitta Shuddhi also. As a byproduct, you will get Chitta Shuddhi. And it will also improve your Shraddha. So the Shravanam is an important component. The more we systematically study, the more we will get Shraddha, and as also the Chitta Shuddhi.
Harivam Guruji, Jana here.
Harivam.
Just these things keep coming into my mind. So, talking about the current pandemic situation, right? Being an aspirant in this Vedanta and moving towards that journey, how the attitude of a sadhaka should be at this kind of situations? Do we accept or anything from a spiritual standpoint we should do? So do you have any thoughts on these kind of situations?
So, this pandemic situation or any life's challenges, what Shastras say is, wherever you can change, whatever you can change from your point of view, in terms of, say, for example, in this kind of pandemic, wherever you can be, whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe, you can take those actions. You shouldn't be leaving it to say, I will not follow the guidelines because it is all anyway God's will and He will take care of me. So that kind of an attitude is not prescribed by Vedanta, by Shastras. It says you will have to do your part of the work, part of your job. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Uddaret Atmanatmatma. So he says a person will have to lift himself. So there is a question of this Advaita Vedanta is not fatalistic. It is not to say that you just do whatever you feel like. Anyway, fate will take over of things. It is not in your hands. That is not what Advaita believes. Advaita says in the laws of karma also we said, whatever happens to you is because of the actions that we have done in the past or in the present. So whatever is happening now is in our hands. So we will have to do what is necessary in these times. But when things do go wrong, that is when you have to trigger your prasada buddhi. You will have to take, we should not get into the depression, we should not get angry, we should not get upset. We should just ensure that we are able to face the problem. And facing the problem, we have multiple ways to do it. One is, of course, bhakti, to say Sharanagati. We say, okay, whatever has happened has happened. It could have been worse. That is one way to look at it. At least I am in a better position than so many others. That is one way to look at it. Now that makes some people will say, oh, you are talking out of entitlement. No, it's not out of entitlement. It's out of humility. The second thing we'll have to just do is, if that is not the case, okay, I am actually going through what I have already done. Whatever I am doing now, whatever I am getting now is a result of my actions of the past. So I have to accept whatever I am going through now. So I will just accept my past and the results that I am getting it now. Third is, of course, as I am doing this now, I will improve my Shraddha and Bhakti and say, okay, Ishvara, now give me the strength to come over this and face this. How can I actually make it better for me tomorrow? So the question is, at no point of time, we should not lose the focus of Ishvara, Bhakti, and at the same time also make sure that whatever is in our hands we make our effort in doing those things.
For the great sages, gurus, and also they are at this pandemic, how will they see, do they do some kind of service to the society at this situation, or anything we can do as a sadhaka to the society? Is there something?
No, it is, not specifically for this situation. Even otherwise, Karma Yoga, one of the Karma Yoga's main principle is a life of contribution. When we say Panchamaha Yajna, we talk about, Manushya Yajna, all those Bhuta Yajna and others. Contribution to the society is an important integral part of spiritual sadhana. Especially when we go into the chapter 12 of Gita, Bhagavan says that the first step of bhakti is where we are actually able to enjoy the first step. The final step is to understand that you are becoming a jnani, where you don't see yourself different from Bhagavan. You are able to understand that you are the Brahman. But as Bhagavan says that it's for those people who are difficult, he suggests step 4, then step 3, then step 2, and then the first step 1. The step 1 is one who actually is able to take all the pleasures. He is able to go through. He experiences joy and sorrow, but while experiencing joy and sorrow, he takes it to be Bhagavan's prasada. But the next step, the second step of bhakti, where he says, as you grow further, the next step should be a life of contribution, service to the society. Service to the society is an important important piece of sadhana, or it will be for any sadhaka. It is an integral and important part of their spiritual steps. So if you see today a Swamiji at a very high level, at a very spiritually very mature person, who are at a very senior, at a high level of knowledge and compassion, who are like the Swami Paramarthananda or Swami Guruparananda or Swami Omkarananda, they would have had in their previous lives have done service to the society. And what they do is, they also do, even in their current life today, they would actually do a lot of service, because as to set an example to others, to say that service to the society is an important way to actually progress faster. Service to the society will actually help in bringing down our ego, because when we do service to our people, there will be people who will find fault with us. There will some people who will make fun of us. They will say, there will be a lot of people who would think that, you're wasting your time, you are not making it productive use, you are actually or they might say that you are fit for nothing and therefore you are doing this, or even if you do something, they will say you are doing it for getting something in back, or you are doing it for the purpose of fame, or even if you do something, they will find fault. So all those things will actually have a severe impact on our ego, and this service, when we do, will actually reduce our ego, will reduce our ego. And the ultimate understanding of this Advaita Vedanta is that you are not that ahankara, you are not that ego, and therefore you will have to bring down your ahankara and mamakara, and therefore the service will help. The service to the society will help.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Any other topic?
That moon and sea example is a really very good one. I am trying to derive one more concept from that, like the sea when it reflects the moon with the broken shape of moon, so many moons on the surface.
Yeah.
It's like we think this is all broken and there's so much of turbulence.
Yeah.
Life, and when we look at it from the intellect point of view, it is actually the Maya, and the actual moon, which is Brahman, the state of tranquility, which is unmoving or unmoved, or there is no the turbulence there. So it's all in our mind which creates that kind of turbulence in life. And when we really try to look at the real moon or the Brahman, it is all bliss. It's a very good example. I like that.
Yeah. And as I said, this whole concept of this jnana, there is nothing new in this jnana. First of all, we have to understand there is nothing new in this jnana, or rather it is only our ignorance that we have been associating ourselves with this body and mind. There is a story in Vedanta. I don't know whether I had actually shared this story, but it's worth sharing it again. Why I say that, this is in terms of ignorance to knowledge. How do we do it? So consider in those days there used to be this washerman who will take these donkeys to the to the river, and then they tie the donkey to the stone there, and then do the their washing, right? So this washerman one day takes the donkey to the river, and then he wants to actually he just notices that actually the rope that was with the donkey's on the donkey's neck was actually missing. And then he had to actually now find out a way to actually retain the donkey there so that it doesn't run away while he's washing the clothes. And he was actually standing next to the donkey without knowing what to do. And then so a wise man comes in and asks him, what is he doing there? Why is he standing for so long there? And then he says, no, I have forgotten to bring the rope, and I can't tie this donkey to to a stone, otherwise this donkey would actually now leave. So the wise man says, okay, well, no problem. What do you do? Which stone do you tie to? He shows the stone there, and he says, okay, what you do is you take the donkey there and act as if you are actually tying the donkey to the rope with the stone. Although there could be no rope there, you just see as if it is tied to the, make sure that the donkey knows or sees that you are actually tying it. A non-existent rope. So he actually ties a non-existent rope there. And then he goes to do this washing, and then he comes back in the evening and he asks the donkey to get up. It doesn't get up. It doesn't move. He tries to hit it, it's not moving. And he is now waiting for the donkey to move, it's not moving. And again in the evening, it's been late. The wise man comes back again and he says, what's happening now? Why are you not taking the donkey back? No, he says the donkey is not moving. So the wise man asks, did you untie the rope? What untie the rope? I didn't tie the rope. But the donkey thinks that you have tied the rope to it, to the stone. So you will have to untie it. You will have to act as if it is untied. So then he actually makes it look as if he is untying it. And now the donkey starts moving. So this is the story there. Now what is the Vedantic inference from there is basically, we are all in the same state as the donkey. We think we are in this samsara. We think we are tied to this job, this body, this mind, this life, this relations, all these things. We think we are all tied to this, when we are not. We are now attached to these using or we are attached to these things using that invisible rope kind of thing. We think we are bonded with this body. We think we are bonded with this mind. We think we die with this body. We think we are in this samsara. So, whereas what we are Brahman. We don't realize it. So the only way to remove it is untie the non-existent rope. So what Vedanta says is, you will have to remove the bondage. And that's why Vairagya comes in. You will have to remove this bondage from this body, from this mind, from this world, from the relations, from money, from fame, power, position. We have built those bondages. And we have to remove
ignorance, right?
Sorry?
And that is ignorance, right?
That is the ignorance. The ignorance of that I am this body and mind is the same ignorance that the donkey has, that it has got tied itself to the stone when it was not tied. That ignorance has to be removed. The moment I remove that ignorance, I am free. The donkey is free the moment it removes its ignorance. Was actually something new given to the donkey? No. Same thing, for us to remember or for us to realize that I am Brahman, do I need to get something new knowledge like physics or chemistry? I have to understand something? No. I just need to remove my ignorance. I have to, whatever I have understood wrongly, I will have to remove that understanding. And the moment I am able to remove my understanding, I will realize that I am Brahman. And that's why Shastra says Neti Neti principle. Not this, not that. And we say this, what is negation. We negate that Panchakoshas, we negate the three Shariras, we negate the three states of experience. We are in a state of hypnotized state. We have to de-hypnotize ourselves. And that is what the Shastra says. Actually, there is no new jnana to get. I am able to realize that I am not the body. Everybody can realize, right? If I am going to believe in rebirth, if I am going to believe in karma, definitely I know that I am not the physical body. That is very simple, very easy to understand. Because when people die, we see that, we say that he goes to the next life, but he is not taking the physical body. So you can definitely say that physical body is not the person. I am not the physical body. Now the only thing that now the question is, what is the other one? Sukshma Sharira. I am not even able to see the mind and the intellect. And we say the mind and intellect, the Sukshma Sharira, is not you because you are aware of what it is. And it's very subject-object, that concept, where Drik Drishya Vivekam, seer-seen concept, that seer-seen principle, anything that I experience is not I. If a camera is able to take a picture, I can see from the picture. I don't need to see the camera, that the camera existed. From the fact that there was a picture taken, that the fact that I was able to see a picture, I can infer that a camera was there. Similarly, when I am able to be aware of this world, I am able to know that I am the awareness. Because I am aware of this world. I am aware of this world, so I am the awareness. So this is very simple. But why am I not able to get this fully? Because I am fully always tied to this body. I am tied to this mind. I am tied to this house. I think this house is mine. I think this house is an extension of me. I think my relations are mine, they are me. I think this money is mine, I am that money, and I am not without that. If I am nothing without that money, I am nothing without that name, fame. So I tie myself. I have tied myself up with all those things. So the ignorance that I have is also an illusion. The bondage that I have is also an illusion. And that is why it's called as Maya. I am actually liberated. I am actually ever liberated. I am actually always Brahman. Even though I feel that I am attached to these things, does not mean that I am not Brahman. I am always Brahman. The donkey was never tied at all. The donkey might think that it has been tied to the stone, but it has always been free. So this ignorance is illusion, this bondage is illusion, this samsara is an illusion. And we have to just realize. And how I have to do? Just like I have to untie the non-existent rope, I have to untie myself from all these things. And that's why Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga will help. And that's where service to the society, service to others, service to the not the society, the entire environment. Doing it for animals, doing it for plants, doing it, going to actually, build some lakes or ponds for villages. Any kind of service where I don't expect anything in return will actually remove my bondage, my attachment towards things. And when I am doing something for the service without expecting anything in return, I am not attaching myself to anything new now. So I am not attaching myself to money, fame or position that it will give me. And what we see, the important thing is getting vairagya, getting detachment. Now to get detachment, I have to first understand where I am attached and remove attachment. But invariably what we do, we actually try to acquire more. We try to acquire more and we try to get attached to that. So I got one house, I buy another house, so that attachment on the second house, then the attachment on the third house. There is no more things to get attached to. I get more things in for me and then I get more things to attach to. So that is again Maya. That is what Maya does. So this concept has to be understood. Any other?
Pranam Guruji, this is Venkat, and thanks for one good session, wonderful session. Still a lot of things to keep on listening to it again and again to remember, to interconnect many things logically and understand. So it was a good session, but the one common thing that keeps coming in the mind is we also have a belief, for example, from the Sanchita Karma, which is actually a portion of that comes into the rebirth, and then it comes as a form of a Prarabdha Karma and starts affecting the person in that life. So all the Punya Papa, which probably any individual would commit in that particular life cycle. We also have a belief that a portion of it comes from the parents, a portion of it goes to the children, and the wife takes Punya half, and all these things are they mere beliefs? Because the way the Vedanta is still advocating is every individual takes his own individual Punya Papa to pile up and then resolve. Now here comes a father, mother, children, wife, and these things are meant only for the sake of a good living situations, or they probably have some relationship?
So I will tell you from my limited understanding whatever I have understood, but I will also get some more clarity on this. But from my understanding, everybody's Punya and Papa only belong to them. Nobody can share others' Punya or Papa. There is only one caveat. I'll come to that caveat later. This is the same as if I am hungry, even though or if my, for example, if my son is sick, however attached I am, however love I have with him, I will not be able to take his pain or take his sickness. He has to go through. Or if he is hungry, I cannot eat on his behalf to quench, satisfy his hunger. So every person would have to go through their Punya or Papa as far as exhaustion is concerned. But then of course there is always this attachment. So what happens is, if my son is sick, or if my son is actually having a problem, or he's got and then I get sorrow. So he gets pain, I get sorrow. And that is because of my attachment. And that is because I have taken it upon myself. It is not given by Prarabdha, I have taken it upon myself. Of course, the question is, you need to actually have some compassion, you need to provide care, but it doesn't mean that you need to take upon the sorrow upon yourself. So that is the thing. So the sorrowful situation you will be getting. So these are some of the situations are given by Prarabdha, that these are sorrowful situations. Somebody near, has got some issues, or you have some health issues. These are situations that arise because of some Prarabdha in our life. So of course the son getting sick and you finding it difficult to accept it could also be a result of some Punya or Papa that you had done earlier. That could be the result of Prarabdha. But taking it upon ourselves or not is still our choice. That is where the willpower comes in, the free will comes in. Now, as I said, everybody will have to go through their own Prarabdha. Having said that, only in the Shastras I have heard only one thing. If her husband does some Punya, say for example, there are a lot of those karmas which are given as Strauta Smarta karmas, which are prescribed by the Vedas. So a husband does a lot of those, for example, these homas or yajnas or all those things that are done by the husband. The wife or the lady of the house does not get to participate in that, or rather she is only a passive participant. The actual karma is actually done by the karta, the person, the male member. Shastra says that whatever punya that is done by the husband, the wife is being there around to serve or to help in those things. The punya she gets 50% of the punya. She gets half of the punya. But it does not is not considered for the papas that the husband does. Whatever papa that the husband does belongs to him only. It is not shared by anybody else. And that's why we have this famous story, right? Valmiki story, where he was actually a sort of a thief, a dacoit in the forest, and then he kind of loots people, and he does a lot of papa. And then one day Rishi comes and says, look, you're doing a lot of papa, but you are going to incur those papa. Your family is not going to. They may share your loot, but they will not share your papa. So why don't you go and ask them whether they are willing to share your papa count? And Valmiki goes and asks his old parents. They refuse. He asks his wife. She refuses, and his kids, they refuse. And that's when he realizes that, although whatever he is doing, it is for their sake, but the papa has to be, that comes only onto him. And then he becomes he becomes a rishi, and then he writes Ramayana. So that is another story which tells you that papa cannot be shared. And of course we also use these terms, right? In Tamil especially, we say Periva Panna Punya. We say our elders in the family have done punya, which is why I am enjoying this. I think it's more like kind of two things to say this. One is to actually say, to bring that humility part, that I know I have not done any punya in this life to enjoy this. So to keep ourselves in the ground, we say that, okay, the punya that has been done by my forefathers, my ancestors, I am able to do that. The second thing is, for all we may know, the forefathers could be us in our previous lives. We don't know. We don't know what we were born earlier. So it is in a way true that the ancestors' punya could be coming to me now, because I could have been born as an ancestor of me some years back, many years back. I don't know. We don't know. But more importantly, it is to keep us on the ground, to make sure that we don't feel that I am entitled. And that's why we say, this is because of the ancestors' punya. I don't know whether does it answer question?
No. Oh, thank you. It's convincing and understandable. Definitely, our mind is in a very low state to digest everything. So, I'm trying to derive some understanding and logic out of this. Yes, definitely, I agree with what you said, and if possible, yes, I agree.
This prarabdha karma, when you explained about the karma theory, laws of karma rather, you said this prarabdha karma is given to us at the time of the birth, and it's actually a kind of a withdrawal from our sanchita karma for this life. So does this include your papa karma and punya karma both, or is it only the punya karma that is withdrawn and we get this prarabdha?
It is both. It is both. When we talk about karma, it is always both papa and punya. So the prarabdha that we actually withdraw from the sanchita bank, it will contain both punya and papa.
And could I consider that because of the punya karma more, I got this human body?
Correct. So as I said, if we have done this, if the withdrawal contains a lot of punya, then we would get a deva, sharira, or gandharva or whatever in different lokas. If the withdrawal contains a lot of papa, then we would be animal, insects, or any other world, nether world's body. But this becoming more or less kind of equal, that's when you get signed of human birth. But again, the withdrawal is such that the withdrawal to get a human birth is so rare. To get a human birth, Shastra says it is extremely rare. From one human birth to the next human birth, it could be millions of other births in between. We don't know. And there is one book called Enipadigal Mandargal, which has been written by Kanchi Mahaswami's younger brother, Shivan sir. There he talks about a lot of things, and one of the things he talks about is where he says it's until we reach a certain stage spiritually, and he has got a spiritual steps of 11 steps. Until we reach a step of say 8th or 9th step, 8, 9, 10, 11, the last 3 steps alone, he says you will be in a position to have human birth the very next life. Otherwise, you are bound to have other lives in between, other bodies in between. And especially in the first 3, having a human life or between 2 human lives, there will be millions of other janmas. But that is not to to sort of I would say we shouldn't get demoralized with that, because one thing we have to understand is we have already taken millions of birth, billions of birth probably, we don't even know. We are in this stage. Did we actually worry about all those previous births? No. We are in this stage, we are not even bothered about our previous life. So why should we get bothered about our next life? What we can do in this life, we will do our best. And then whatever comes in the next life, we will take it up. We will take it, we will cross the bridge, we will get to the next life. There shouldn't be any feeling of, then is it actually worthwhile to study? Some people might get more demoralized to say, I don't even know when I'm going to get my next human life, then why should I get worried about this one? This is something that we have to do. If not for this life, when can we get another life? Ippiravi tappinal eppiravi vaikumo edumariyen paraparame. Manika Vachakar says. So if we lose this opportunity, we don't know when we will get this next opportunity. In Viveka Chudamani also, Shankara says in the first 3rd sloka itself, he says in the first 3 slokas itself, he says rare it is to get a human birth. He says that rare it is to get human birth. Even more rarer is actually to get satsanga. And even more rarer is to get a guru who can actually take you to this path. So he says, and that's how he starts that Viveka Chudamani. So we have to be happy that 1 is we got the human birth, 2 is we already we know or we are aware of this path, and we ensure that we actually stay in this path. Okay. Are there any questions, or do we want another session next week, or should we close this with this one? The next class, in the next session, maybe I was just thinking whether I will give you some, those this donkey analogy, the donkey story. Maybe I'll give you a few other stories to elaborate on certain other Vedantic principles that can help you to understand Vedanta better. If you're okay, then we can have another session to go through those.
Yes, okay. I think that could be good. Thank you.
Sure, we'll have one more.
Okay.
Yeah, the Vedanta. So, see, Vedanta, all this subtle knowledge. And I've seen many gurus employing this kind of examples and stories to make it more clearer.
Many of these stories, I would say many of these stories are not from actually gurus. It is in the Shastras itself. So
that's what
the Shastras itself has been able to give you a comprehensive view. They know what the question. All the Upanishads are like an FAQ. So there will not be a question that goes unanswered, and there will not be a place where you think that you need some other a different example to understand, because Shastras would have already given us examples, lot of examples. So these are only additional examples, additional queries.
Yeah, especially the rope and the snake examples, the pot and the clay, or the gold and the jewelry.
Yeah.
They reinforce the entire thought on this Vedanta.
Yeah.
Namaskaram, Balaji. Just one. Do we have a?
Yes, Prakash.
Or one small question. So let's say we knowingly or unknowingly get into a situation, right, where I end up like having a heated discussion or fight with someone, right, like someone close or maybe some friend or whoever it is, and as naturally, like as human, we start holding that grudge for some time, let's say, and then let's say I kind of forgive myself, and then try to forget what happened, and then get back to normalcy, right? Like okay, fine, something happened, when something went wrong, it's okay. Now going forward, we don't need to have that. Or it could be either me or the other person. Let's say he or she actually is able to do that, but I am still holding the grudge against them. Does this? I don't know. It's a stupid question, but what I want to understand is how does this work in the karma thing, right? Like whether that person who has forgiven me, even though if I am holding the grudge against them, right? Like does this affect their karma also, even though they have forgiven me or they have forgotten the thing actually?
See, whatever action that has gone out of our body or mind, whatever thought or action that has gone out of our mind is something that cannot be I would say the action, the karma has gone through, so the effect of the karma, whatever be the papa or punya, we will have to face it. Okay? There is no way that I can say, although there is something called a prayashchittam, all those things. Prayashchittam works for certain karmas, as I said, and when we discussed this karma also. Prayashchittam can work for certain karmas, but it need not work for all things. Even when we discussed loss of karma, we discussed about this prayashchittam and others. But once an action goes out of our body or mind, it is like an arrow that has been released from the bow. Okay, we cannot take it back. Okay, so whatever that will happen, that needs to happen, will happen. So we need not worry about those things. But holding a grudge against someone is not going to help us, because holding a grudge means, when we are holding a grudge on somebody, then basically it is creating an issue in our mind, and this mind will not be available for Vedantic or spiritual progress or spiritual study. And any grudge that we are holding is only because there is an attachment, as in attachment or an hatred. So raga or dvesha, that comes in pairs. So wherever, so attachment and hatred, like and dislike, are two sides of the same coin. Both will create problems for us. So this grudge is caused by the hatred, which is dvesham. And that dvesham, as long as we have, we will not be able to spiritually progress. So that will actually induce us further to do more papam, and will actually spiritually drag us down further. And therefore the best way is to actually release the grudge, remove that grudge. And Bhagavan in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita and chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita goes through in detail of these, rather he actually brings out, talks about these values or these problems in our mind. And in our sessions we will be actually dealing with them in terms of detail, in terms of what each talks about, where we talk about anger, hatred, himsa, all those things we will discuss in detail. But the key thing is, grudge will create more, or will induce us to make more problems, which will bring us spiritually down.
Thank you.
Sir, I wanted to ask, can I?
Yeah.
Please. So, firstly, I want to know Enlightenment and Moksha. And secondly, lately I have been listening to a lot of spiritual, there are so many places, like there is different Buddhism, there is meditation, seance, this, and I've got totally confused and I don't know which path to select. Like I went for Sadhguru's inner engineering also. So I just want to know, what is the path? How should I align myself to spirituality? On what path should I take? I can't decide.
Okay. First question I couldn't hear clearly. What was the question? First question was, what is the difference between?
What is enlightenment and moksha?
Okay, enlightenment and moksha. Moksha is called as liberation generally. Enlightenment is also another word that is used for moksha. But enlightenment is typically used in Buddhism, which is also their reference or their way of calling what is known as liberation. But liberation, what Advaita talks about as liberation, is two things. One is freedom from this cycle of birth and death. So I don't want to be born again. That is one liberation. The second liberation is, I am happy here and now. I am contented here and now. I am independent here and now. That is called as another moksha. So the first, the freedom from cycle of birth and death is called as videha mukti. Being happy, being contented, being independent here and now is called as jivan mukti. This concept of jivan mukti is available only in Advaita Vedanta school or principle. The moksha, the word, the liberation, the enlightenment has got various ways of being defined in various people for various schools of thought. In meditation, they might say, they have this Raja Yoga where they say Kundalini Yoga, they say that a blue light kind of goes up. You will be able to see the blue light, and once you go to that Samadhi state, you get moksha. Those are different ways of explaining different, what we will call as mystic experiences. So some people sort of equate these mystic experiences to moksha. And these mystic experiences are not permanent. These are actually very specific to a particular time and place and a particular action that you have to do to get into those mystic experiences. What Advaita Vedanta says is not about having any mystic experience at all. It is about having this regular experience and saying that how you are free here and now, how you are not actually impacted by this samsara. And that is where Advaita Vedanta kind of differs from the others. Advaita Vedanta also says that basically, by getting into this state where you are able to identify that you are not this body and mind, you will be able to experience joy here and now, or bliss here and now, but also you will not be born again. You will not be in this samsara cycle again. So this is Advaita Vedanta's way of explaining moksha. As I said, moksha, liberation, enlightenment, different people have different things. Now, how do I actually choose what is the path to go? It is the path that you feel comfortable with. It is with the idea that you are comfortable with. What Advaita Vedanta says is everybody will have to come to this stage. Whether it is the moksha that is given by Madhvacharya in Dvaita Siddhanta, or this Hare Krishna movement is all Dvaita Siddhanta or Visishta Advaita Siddhanta. Then you have Ramanujacharya's Visishta Advaita Siddhanta. Those mokshas, or the way that they describe moksha and the path to moksha, is all different, because their moksha goal itself is different. Their moksha goal, for example, in Visishta Advaita is that the soul is different from the Jivatma is different from the Paramatma. They say that the concept of Brahman is only for Paramatma. The Jivatma is different. The Jivatma will never become Paramatma. Will have to go to Vaikuntha one day, and once you reach Vaikuntha, that's where you get liberated. So there is no concept of Jivan Mukti. So each person or each school of thought describes liberation differently. So I would suggest for you, whatever you are comfortable with, you listen, you make your choice, but don't do guru hopping too long. You will have to stick to something. And all gurus are valid at some level, but we should be comfortable with that, and you should be. But what again Advaita Vedanta says is ultimately a person would have to come to Advaita Vedanta, because this is about the ultimate realization where you are the Brahman. So whether some people believe it or not, whether even if they don't believe that they are not Brahman, they are Brahman. Just because I don't believe in gravitational force doesn't mean that when I actually jump, I will not fall down. Just because I don't believe in traffic rules or traffic laws, it doesn't mean that when I actually stand on the road, I will not get hit by a vehicle. So that is where Advaita Vedanta says that you are Brahman. Whether you believe it or not, whether you agree it or not, whether you understand it or not, you are the Brahman. And that is what Advaita tries to teach you. But again, as I said, for you personally, you can do your own understanding. You can try to see which actually you are able to relate to yourself, to your thought process, to your understanding, and then make your own call.
Actually, the same question what she asked. I'm sorry, please go ahead.
This one thing, it's too early because I'm feeling lost. I don't have time. I feel I want to work. I want to take care of the kids, and there is so much in spirituality. How do I discipline myself? It's very difficult to cope with this. Is it too early? Should I try doing this maybe after 60 or something?
That is the question that many of them ask, right? After 60, I think it will be too late. So my point is, you don't need to worry about anything. Right now, whatever you can do as form of bhakti, you just have one Ishta Devata or something. You just make sure that you are able to devote a certain amount of time for prayers, a certain amount of time for doing some seva, a certain amount of time for meditating, a certain amount of time for listening to one particular guru. You don't need to stress out yourself that you are not progressing. I don't know whether I am progressing, whether that is another kind of stress that people will build in once they come into this, whether I am actually progressing, whether I am actually going in the right path, whether this life is going to be enough, whether I will be able to reach my moksha within this life, whether I don't seem to have made any change in the last few years, whether it is worth it, am I in the right path. Those kind of doubts will keep coming. Have Shraddha, have devotion, and have this. That's when the Sharanagati comes in place. So have that devotion with Ishvara to say, He is not going to leave me, let me go. I'm going to be very clear that I'm have this conversation with your Ishta Devata on a daily basis. Talk to that Ishta Devata, establish that connection, build bhakti. Make sure that when you do this bhakti, when you have this Ishta Devata, two things helps. One is your own kind of psychological help that you are looking for from people outside. You will be able to derive it from the invisible force. Number one. Number two is when you are actually able to have this Ishvara in your personal life. Second thing, you feel that you have this moral strength to actually face the world. Third is also when you are actually, it will also help you because you are actually with the Ishvara. It will also help you to stop yourself from doing certain mistakes in life, certain things that you would want to avoid. So, have that bhakti, have that Ishta Devata, keep thinking of this Ishta Devata every possible break that you get. You will be able to derive the strength. But right now, do not worry about learning new things. This Advaita Vedanta, because it shouldn't be a stress on you. You just need to understand the sadhana is going to be in parallel anyway. So spend some time, give some dedicated time for Ishvara, give some dedicated time for service, give some dedicated time for meditation, and give some dedicated time for listening to these shastras. Don't worry about whether you are in the right path or not, but do not change gurus. Do not change your school of thought. Initially, you shouldn't change school of thought. For example, inner engineering way of looking at things is different from, say, there are different schools of thoughts. One is Advaita. I mean, in Tamil, we have a few things. We say there is called as Velukudi Krishnan is there, a person who actually gives discourses. Then there is Dushyant Sridhar, who is giving discourses. Then there is also all these Advaita Vedanta gurus. Chinmaya Mission is there. Arshavidya Gurukulam is there. All those things. First, decide. Then you have ISKCON, another school. So first decide on which school of thought that you are comfortable with. And within that school of thought also try to limit yourself to one guru for some time until you are in a position to go to another guru. Do not try to go across different things because it will be confusing. And that's why when Shravanam we say, one of the things we say is Shastra has to be read on a systematic manner, continuous manner, structured manner, over a lengthy period of time. If I hear one discourse, here 3 days later, 10 days later, I hear another discourse, it will not add up. I will not be able to make up the building that I want to construct. I'm going to get a dump of few bricks, but I don't know how to place them. I don't know how to layer them. I cannot create a wall out of it. So if I have to create a proper wall, proper understanding of my Shastras, then I have to learn it systematically. I have to learn it regularly. I will have to listen to it in a structured manner. So systematic, structured, over a lengthy period of time under a single guru would help you to build that knowledge. Understanding, build your understanding clearly.
Guruji, I too had the same kind of doubt what she had, like what to follow. And luckily for me, one elderly person, he gave me this clue. He said, see, first of all, if you want to learn Vedanta or the spiritual path, first of all, it is your prarabdha to get a guru. And when you find a guru, make sure he is a competent guru. He says competent means he defined as a sampradaya guru, which means that the guru has a guru and he has learned from a guru and not just by googling or studying books he has become a guru, or suddenly he got enlightenment or something like that and he became a guru. He said a guru means who has undergone the study of Vedanta and Upanishads and Vedas under another guru who again is a competent guru who has learned from his own guru in a systematic manner for a prolonged period of time. So he said, try to choose that guru who is the real guru. Otherwise, if you find that somebody says suddenly I got enlightenment and I become a guru. No, he says go find guru who is really competent and in a sampradayic way. Like he like in the older days, we had gurus and rishis, and they taught disciples, and they went and again taught others. The same way, follow the same way. And secondly, about you talked about that. I'm sorry, I'm not getting that.
Systematic. Systematic.
No,
study.
I think he's referring to inner engineering.
Yeah.
No, inner engineering. There are many things like that. Even meditation classes where you pay, and in fact, those meditation classes, they say it'll give you a peace of mind, but leave your mind in pieces. That's another thing. Again, these things, sampradayic, whether, as you said, whether it's
so that's why we say Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Aspadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara.
Vande Guru Parampara. Yes, that Guru Parampara is the most important. That's the first thing, I think, before choosing to learn anything is the first thing, to get it.
If I can add in over here, Guruji.
Yeah.
Based on my own experiences, this is something that I just wanted to share because if you would recollect, I was more or less in the same situations before I started sitting with you. So typically one thing that I would suggest to anybody who's confused is first learn to treat God as your own friend. He should not be treated as somebody alien, some superpower or something like that. Like Guruji was just now saying, talk to him. Tell him that just like you would tell to your friend, this is happening, that is happening. Talk to him the same way and he will guide you. One thing that has been very, very clear to me right from the time I've been, I think this is the second batch of Vedanta class that I'm attending, second or third batch of Vedanta class that I'm attending over here. Because this is my third. Yeah. So, and I will continue to be attending. That's a different thing because I need it for myself. One thing that has been made very, very clear right across all these batches, which Guruji has made very, very clear is the universe or the Brahman, which we call the universe, we refer to the entire universe as Brahman. And that Brahman is always willing to help. It knows exactly where to push you, in what direction to push you. But you need to respond towards pushes. To respond towards pushes, you need to be a friend to the Brahman. It is not necessary you have to understand that Brahman is inside you. That is a very, very high level. We are all at the crawling stage. We are not even at the walking stage yet. At least I am not at the walking stage yet. That is one thing. The second thing that I would also like to say is, like Guruji said, we should necessarily be listening. Rather than going into a confusion, listening to multiple gurus who will be giving you different interpretations based on their own experiences, based on what they have learned, whether it is going to be in the traditional way, or that is the Sampradayic way, like Mr. Sundar was just saying, or in any other way. They are going to have, whatever discourses they are going to give is going to have an element of personal understanding also. But when we follow one specific guru, when we follow one specific way of learning, I find that it is always easier, because what I do these days is I simply do not listen to any of the talks on YouTube, even though Guruji himself has said that you should listen to this guru or that guru. I don't do that. I just keep listening to what we discuss in class. There is a number of times I've listened to it. I've got all the pause recordings downloaded. I don't even go to YouTube. I just put on my headphones and listen to it, even on train. I don't need to sit at one place to do it. You could do it even when you're traveling. But listen. That is the most important.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Shravanam, yes.
Listen. Then, next thing, when you're judging yourself, please don't do the mistakes that I am doing currently. I'm still trying to correct myself. Guruji has always told me that I should never be too harsh on myself, but I'm not able to prevent that. That is causing me a lot of problems. So don't try to judge yourselves at this stage. You will know when you are spiritually progressing by yourself. The Brahman will let you know. Don't try to judge yourselves.
I'm still, sorry Guruji, apologies, but I'm still in that state. I'm still being too harsh on myself. I'm finding it very difficult to come out of that. Anyway, that's something I will take with you separately. Rather than following different schools of thought, we are already there in this basic class. I would suggest sincerely to anybody who's got any iota of confusion, stop listening to any other gurus, just listen to what we have discussed in class. Keep listening again and again and again, and you will definitely get that clarity. Because I have got it. I have definitely got it. Internally, I mean, my judgment, my hardship, it's a different thing, because for each person, when they are on the spiritual journey, it is their own journey. They have to learn by themselves. So it could be different for you based upon what your karma and based upon what your understandings are. But rather than listening to everything else, just focus on what we are talking about over here, and that will lead you to the other places automatically. This is what I would suggest, sincerely. This is based on my own personal experiences again.
I just want it, like why I asked this. It has been a journey. It started from Ishta Devta only, and I feel he's been guiding me into various practices. And I came across you also like that only, because I was on a spiritual path. I like that process. So, but there are certain things like about Nichiren Buddhism, I like the community-based kind of practice. Then about Sadhguru, I like that he's talking about meditation and body both. He helps you with yoga also. So there is manifestation meditation, which is talked by Shreyans. So I like different aspects of different things, and I can't cope with all of them. So I want everything packaged in one place.
So I mean, I think as I said, you will have to make your own call. Whatever is actually working for you, you choose it. You are the best judge. You would know what is needed for you, and you just make your own call based on your experience and based on what you see as benefits. Okay. Yeah, I think it's 6:30 already. I think it's 1.5 hours today.
Just one point I wanted to share was, like Swami Paramarthananda, in his discourse, he says, 98% of the people who come to him, they ask, Swamiji, I realize why I didn't join long before. So, people who are in 60s or 40s or 30s, everybody says the same thing. Oh, why I didn't join this Gita classes or the Upanishad classes long before. So there's the concept of thinking that the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or the Vedanta is only after 60s or after your retirement or anything. It's a wrong notion, because everybody realizes at some point that, oh my God, we lost so much of life without learning this. We should have started long back. Yeah. This is what I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you,
We'll close it for here now, and we'll have a next one more session on this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahimaishaha Go Brahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om Guruji.